See, one of the things that with critiquing important icons of ours, I'm reminded of something that the late great Elambe Brath, I remember him saying, we have to be about principles, P-L-E-S, and not principles, P-A-L-S, right? Making the distinction between being about certain foundational concepts and not so much about individuals who may or may not have articulated certain concepts. It's not about what the individuals have to say. It's about the correctness of the ideas that are guiding our actions. And so I want to acknowledge the pull of the questions of treatment. Treatment, how people are treated, how you feel, how you are made to feel, has a tremendous pull on us. But we make too many decisions around notions of treatment. So I can understand Malcolm making his analogy about, being American and being in the diner. A good portion of black nationalism historically has drawn on America's mistreatment of African people in America and around the world, and the mistreatment of other people by the people who run America and other Western Europeans. It's a tremendous pull. And so it's extremely tempting, and a whole bunch of us can't pass up on the temptation of wanting to organize around our sense of mistreatment. Scientific African nationalism, however, teaches that regardless of how we're treated, because we could be treated nicely, we still need to control our own circumstances as a people. That our struggle for independence, our struggle to get to the point where we have our own government and not our neo-colonial governments as dominates African people, because most black people, we made a big deal in 2008 around America electing a black man without recognizing the majority of the African population throughout the world live in governments where the head of state is a black man, right? That ain't nothing new, okay? We've been living under states where black people were in the top position since the mid-1950s. And very often, no improvement in our circumstances. The question of control, not fake control, where you got faces in high places and people from other ethnic groups run your economy, right? Sometimes they run your economy, run your military, still dictating aspects of your culture. No, we're talking about African people controlling everything that is subject to human control in opposition to any other group of people exercising that kind of power over us. And in the process, we will achieve better treatment, but not because someone else decided to treat us better, but because we're running things in our own interests. So, scientific African nationalism is clear. It's got to be about us moving closer to power, control over our own circumstances. Now, this pull around the desire for better treatment, often, here goes one of the signs of it. Black folks may lose our minds over the idea of some white person killing one of us. And a whole bunch of us don't like it when you bring up the stats that we kill more of each other. Somehow we feel like, oh, you're feeding into, white supremacy because that's what they say. Well, that's what we do, right? But our reaction to notions of treatment have us like, well, they can't be doing that to us. I'm just thinking about Rodney King, okay? Brother just got his ass beat. He didn't even die. We tore stuff up all over the place when the jury didn't convict those white officers. Because this time we caught it on film and we just knew it's on film. Y'all got to do the right thing this time. And only went to, had to experience that having it on film didn't make much of a difference. You don't understand what's wrong. What's wrong is you're dominated. You're part of a nation that's dominated by another nation that derives economic, political, and cultural benefit from dominating you. So they keep you in your place. And if they decide that it is in their interest at the time that they make a decision to cut a whole lot of that out, they'll cut it out. Because they can change police brutality overnight. Okay? If at some point they decide, this is cutting into our profits, look, y'all cut that BS out, right? Stop shoot, don't shoot that man. Stop it. They can stop that overnight when it is conducive to their interests. Similar to how fighting a war, I was explaining this to a brother the other day, talking about our victory over slavery. It's like, wait a minute. We were at war from day one. If you don't understand your history in this part of the world, then you need to learn it, right? We came off the boat throwing down. Africans, if there was something consistent that we did, we threw down. Individuals was cutting throats, hitting folks up in the head and setting fires and trying to run and stabbing folks up and choking folks out and doing all kind of stuff. That's what we did. Listening to some folks talk about, I could never be no slave. They couldn't do that to me. They'd have to kill me. That's exactly what happened. Between fighting and trying to escape and being worked to death, that was the circumstances of African captives brought to this part of the world. And we were worked to death by and large until the latter part of the 1700s as the economic circumstances changed and it was no longer profitable to just work us to death and buy some more. And I spoke on this in another video. But many of us want to focus on the notions of mistreatment. The relationship has never changed. If their profits require them to treat you nicer, they treat you nicer. If their profits say it don't make a difference, you poor white folks or you white folks that ain't nowhere near the ruling class, you can do with them niggas what you want to do. And at a certain point, it becomes problematic, they change. We were at war from day one. The only reason that a war was fought that seemed to be connected to the ending legally of chattel slavery in the United States, the only reason that that was fought in the 1860s, after in North America, we've been here from the 1600s, is slavery was no longer consistent with the needs of the developing industrial-centered ruling class, largely based in the North. And they had a squabble with the more land-owning folks on the South who figured they could get a better deal on their product if they separated themselves politically, and the ones in the North was not having it. So they had to, they duked it out, right? And then we thinking that they duked it out for us. But their interest shifted. Just like their interest shifted in the latter part of the 20th century. After, in the 1940s, mid-1940s, America emerged supreme from World War II as the number one power on the planet. Number one capitalist power, but number one power, period. And then that segregated thing that was going on in the United States was no longer consistent with the needs of the ruling elite. You were nothing but the cannon fodder by which they brought about desegregation. They needed to bring about desegregation. How were they going to go up against what I call the local yokel whiteys? And I'm not really trying to because I'm not trying to diss white people, all right? But the ruling class needed to handle the reaction from non-ruling white folks, and black folks played the role of bringing about the desegregation from which we think we won a victory, but other people made bigger profits. But for us, in many instances, it meant better treatment, and that's what we were fighting for. We want better treatment. Well, I'm telling y'all, no. We need control over our own circumstances. And I like nicer treatment just like anybody else. But think about it. Killing me softly basically leads to the very same circumstances as killing me harshly. All right? As a matter of fact, and I'm not an advocate for wanting bad treatment. Yeah, I like not being a chattel slave. Yeah, I like being able to go into whatever store I want to and whatever side of the street I want to walk on, or drink from a water fountain. Not that I drink from water fountains, y'all, because quite frankly, I don't. But if that's what I wanted to do, I like being able to do that. But that ain't what the struggle is about. And in actuality, the process of killing me softly may in some ways even be worse than killing me harshly, because attempting to kill me harshly will work up more motivation on my part to go against that process, whereas killing me softly may lull me to sleep while you take my life. The survival and development of African people worldwide is how we define our best interests.